Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be going over the second part of the level design I have been working on. So in the first video we kind of went over how the player gets into the base either by the boat or by grappling over this ledge right here. And then once they get to this section they would have a cutscene either by on the boat, they would get a cutscene on the boat, or they would get a cutscene down here where they would see two high-level officers having a conversation about how they just got the part that they needed in order to finish assembling this new weapon here, in order to test fire it down the range. And then they also have some prisoners that are on the boat that are being transported to the prison down here, down this way. And this is where the player would meet another choice. So here they can either go and rescue the prisoners first, or they can prioritize disassembling this weapon, allowing them more time in order to actually rescue the prisoners here. So if you actually go the prisoners first, you would be within a time limit, so to say, before they're actually able to make this weapon operational, in which they would begin to fire down range and could potentially kill hostages that they have or prisoners that they have. And if you go this way, you're able to disable the weapon, and when you disable the weapon, you wouldn't really have to worry about that time frame as much. So I also did a little bit interior design on some of these buildings. So here's kind of like the dock master's room. So this would lower the bridges here. This is kind of like an upper little suite section here where they can sleep. And then this is kind of a little prison where they can hold their prisoners here before they actually transport them. Up here, up on the upper level here, so this is where they hold their kind of the storage place for their weapons that they have made, kind of their staging area for whenever they want to go into battle. This base acts as a choke point between the Iron Dwarven lands and the other areas that would be within the game. And then we'll get more into this. I'll be focusing more on the inside of these buildings and the prison over here in the next section. That's what I'll be working on next. So when the player comes down this way, I also did the interior design on this storage warehouse as well, kind of where they store their equipment, lumber, things like that in here. So once the player comes up this way, they would sneak around. They can sneak in here. They would be able to salvage and disassemble anything they find in here, and they would then want to make their way into this section here, which we'll get into in the next video. And then if they go this way, here they have a couple of different options as well. So here, this is kind of this is where they'd be able to drive in any weapons they have here, and they can test it on the terrain out here. And this is kind of the control point here where they can go in, and this is where you would open these gates. So that's one way, but it could set off the alarm if they notice these gates are opening. And then this is kind of a hill right here that they built onto instead of flattening it, kind of like everything else around here. And this kind of holds the viewing platforms for anyone that is wanting to view. So like when the king or any commanders are wanting to see how the firing is going, they can get on these platforms and they'd be able to watch. And then here is one way where the player can kind of get easier access into the prison area. So here this is where one of the tests kind of went awry, and it kind of broke the wall, and it broke one of the platforms. And here the player would actually be able to jump into the wall here, allowing them easier access to the prison over here. They'd be able to bypass a good bit here. So if they did a little bit of exploration, they would be able to actually get onto the back side of the prison here. So this is the back side of the prison, and then this is where they would bring maybe the older prisoners or prisoners they don't have use for anymore, they'd bring them here, and this is kind of where the firing down range would be. And then over here, this is kind of the guard. I want to say like I was going for kind of like a guard, like a guard resting area when they're not on duty. They don't have to keep going back across this bridge here to like the this is like the troops like resting, sleeping quarters over here, and this would allow them to kind of an easier place to rest and catch up on any meetings they have here. And I also adjusted this part of the map as well. Instead of having four guard towers here, I wanted to make it a little more interesting. I felt it was a little simple, so I wanted to add some different ways for the player to go in here. And then this is kind of where they stage the materials to be brought into the prison / labor camp here. And then this is in here, they're breaking the rocks open for gems right here, and they're cutting lumber here in order to be brought back into the Iron Kingdom and used as materials for building their empire. So, getting to the kind of gameplay here. So if you start, so once the player reaches here, once they get here, that carts would actually leave with the prisoners on them, and some they might have some more materials to go in that storage place over there. Now here, this is where the player could go in here, salvage some things, get some crafting materials, and then they could find a way up here. You can sneak up here, and then you can sneak past all these vehicles. You can disable them. You can take their parts from them, make them useless pretty much. You can find some more salvage equipment here as well. So that's where I've been working on for the last couple days. Really happy with where it's coming. I like the different changes I made here instead of just the guard towers. I like that it made it more things to do here. And then I'll also be doing the interiors in here, the prison building over here, and then these buildings. This is the forge and the armory, and kind of like the research and development things that they have going on in here. So that's what I'll be working on next, and I'll see you guys next time.